Hello again, Gov. We're playing Fallout London, innit? Bottle of water, innit? And all that, brov. Alright, I'm not going to keep that up any longer, but yeah, we're playing the absolutely massive overhaul mod Fallout London today, beating which took me about 30 hours, so buckle in. It's going to be a long one. We're playing as Wayne, who, despite having just broken out of a growth vat in an underground lab, looks like he'd fit right in at one of the posh boys' schools where they learn how to best oppress the lower classes. So naturally, we'll be seeking our own place in the very upper classes to reap the benefits of that sweet, sweet class divide in England. At least I'm pretty sure that's how you beat Fallout London. It's still very new and this is my first playthrough, so I'm just assuming that's how you win. That's how you win in real life, or so we're told. Anyway though, all of that is a long way off. First we have to punch some irradiated shrews to death and grab a knockoff British Pip-Boy in order to open the door leading out of this lab. On the way out we see the mysterious leader of the lab, named Smythe. And I'm gonna be real with you, I'm pretty sure I'm his clone. There's something giving it away. Two things actually. One on either side of his head, but I don't think that's supposed to be quite so obvious, so just forget that you saw his massive ears, okay? He speaks in posh British and then ushers us out of the lab and into the massive lobby where he talks to us even more, before booting us out into the world via London Bridge tube station, which has even more shrews in it. We're obviously not allowed to jump or climb over the ticket gates. There's a little chip inside of British people's brains where if they jump over a ticket gate it explodes. Anyway, so after collecting a few tickets nearby, we make it through onto the platform, which by some miracle has a train on it. Wayne hops aboard and it just starts moving. And then it stops moving, rather suddenly crashing into this late title card and dumping us unceremoniously on the dingy streets of London with a new max hit point value of 46. Which is less than half of our original value. I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be that low, but okay, I guess we're playing on ultra hard mode. Keep calm and carry on, stiff upper lip and all that. Whatever, we run right into a Peaky Blinders cosplay group, who were just attacking the lab, that's the reason we broke out by the way, and Wayne insults their leader, who gives us a knife. And if you've not visited London before, then don't be alarmed, this is a completely normal social interaction. We also got to level up out of this, and to be honest I haven't really decided on a character build yet, but I know that I'm going to want to use guns because there's a load of fun and weird ones in the mod, so you really can't go wrong with Scrounger in that situation because more ammo is more good. I agreed to follow the gang back to their hideout and gave the knife a quick test on Johnny here. It's okay, he doesn't mind. On the way out, they're gaunt exposits all over Wayne, telling him about all of London's factions. Let me summarise. There's these guys, the Vagabonds. There's the Syndicate from the Isle of Dogs, which is a real place in London. Yeah, I know, it sounds weird. And they're in bed with the gentry who rule from Westminster. There are more, but we'll meet them as we go. Those are the main players. And now we know where Wayne wants to end up. In Westminster. Living it up with the gentry. So we get a shuffle on to the Vagabonds camp, which it turns out has been attacked whilst they were away giving knives to strangers, leaving poor Ricky here to bleed out. Don't worry, Ricky. We'll run into the station building over the road and grab the first aid kit for you. There's a lone ghoul in here, or commuter as the locals very kindly call them, and after shivving him good and proper we'll grab the med kit from the wall and go back to Ricky, who's been left alone again by his mates. Unfortunately, being a recently decanted test tube baby, Wayne doesn't know the difference between a bandage and a blanket.
I thought you knew what you were doing. Fuck.
So, yeah, Ricky's dead. Never mind. His clothes and gun are mine now. Before his untimely passing, Ricky pointed us to the Swan and Mitre, which is a pub, obviously. Most buildings in the UK are pubs. On the way there, Wayne meets some kind folks who call themselves hooligans. These are your run-of-the-mill, bottom-tier raiders. Wayne delivers them from this mortal coil with Ricky's rifle, which isn't very good, but, you know, it gets the job done, and then we can head down to the pub to see them nice lads that we met earlier, which is once again under attack by the Syndicate. Wayne boldly rushes in, but, well, they didn't really need his help here. Fair enough. So now we speak to Yvette, who tells us that a Syndicate scout ran away and sends us after her. First though, she's going to have a look at Wayne's dodgy spine. She flicks a needle, which would imply she's giving us an injection, But then she tells us that we were suffering from psychological distress after the accident, which was affecting our spine. I don't know, maybe it was Valium or something. It cures one of the 2 afflictions that we picked up in the train crash. Hooray, good for us. Whilst helping the Vagabonds in that fight, we picked up 2 new guns, by the way. A 9mm pistol and a good old double-barreled shotgun, which we'll take directly over to Dom's cafe to put down that messenger with. By discovering that location, we leveled up, and I figured that Life Giver would be a good idea, which takes our max health up to a whopping 76. We're truly unstoppable now. Anyway, sure enough, she is indeed in here, and now she's dead. Job done. On the way back to Yvette, Wayne will demonstrate real quickly how we hunt in the UK. We just walk up to sleeping deer and hold a shotgun to the back of their head, or heads in this case, and pull both triggers. Back at pub, Wayne shines his torch directly into Yvette's face and she gives him 100 train tickets. Because, yeah, tickets are the currency here, which is a fun idea. In Britain, most people will have a good few of those little orange and white slips lying around from past train journeys. I actually once used a stack of them as toilet paper in a woodland emergency. Sorry, I know you didn't ask for that information, but I gave you it anyway. So moving swiftly on, we're sent to help this blind ghoul named Nelson, who gives me a quest to fix his radio. Okay. He says Winston should have some parts, and he does indeed have some parts, but he asks us first to check in on a supplier of his before he'll sort the problem out. Okay, fine. On the way there, Wayne pokes his head into The Hound, another pub. Yeah, there really are a lot of pubs. Inside, he exterminates a small radroach family and finds some cricket ball grenades, which... Wayne, stop playing with that, you'll cut yourself. Anyway, where were we? Right, we'll head upstairs to a flat containing even more radroaches and also a longsword. Alright then. There's also the previous resident's terminal containing all of his moanings about the landlord. Another very common UK practice. The rental market here is just as fucked as everywhere else. Anyway, enough time wasting. Up onto a nearby roof from which we can throw one of those cricket balls at the hooligans attacking that supplier of ours, before very slowly shooting the much tankier scavengers from the safety of the rooftop. Once everybody's dead, the supplier, named Nadia, emerges from the bushes and gives us Winston's package. So back we go, where Winston gives us the radio bits and sends us downstairs to Anthony, who might actually be able to fix it.
Hello, sunshine. The name's Bullet Tooth Anthony.
Surprise, surprise, he also has a side quest for us. He needs a photon agitator, but thankfully I randomly picked one of those up somewhere earlier, apparently. So he fixes the radio but says that we'll need a battery, which we should be able to get from Johnny Shrapnel. And then on the way out he tells us that his mum wanted him to be a farmer. Alright, and I didn't ask. So we go to ask Johnny, who, deeply unsurprisingly, also has a side quest for us. He needs us to go and apologise to someone for blowing up their hat. Right. Well, we do that.
Tell him to fuck off.
And then Jan here tells us that his mum wanted him to be a farmer too. We finally give Nelson his radio back, and immediately a Scottish man starts delivering bad news through it. That's never good.
Oh, for fuck's sake, turn that damn thing off!
Nelson blames us because he's angry at the world and we're the nearest living target for his anger, and then he sends us to Millwall, where the Syndicate just announced that they're going to execute some folks, to make sure that Yvette, who we met roughly an hour ago, quote, hasn't done anything too stupid, and to unfuck the situation if she has. Okay, Wayne's not very good at fuck reversal, but we'll give it a go. We hit level 4 from that quest, so I took the gun nut perk, because I'm going to want to play with all of the shiny new guns. But before leaving I was poking around the place hoping to find a workbench and being told about yet more motherly aspirations of farming, but I can't find one. Sadly I don't think there's a workbench here, so whatever, off we go. The quest marker points to just across the road from Greenwich Station, where we bandaged that guy to death earlier, and just opposite our quest marker is this rather cool boat. Unfortunately, its occupants want to kill us, and I don't think there's any sense wasting all of my ammo trying to clear it, so into the Greenwich foot tunnels we go. Ignoring multiple warnings not to enter, Wayne plods deeper underground, beneath the horrifically irradiated Thames, where the game decides it's a horror all of a sudden, blacking out all the tunnel lights and locking us in place to be confronted with a rushing wave of spooky water, and then throwing a load of drowned ghouls at us. That was weird, but okay. We then fight through a billion little mitten lurk hatchlings on our way back towards the surface, When near the exit, we find a tea station for preparing various teas with different effects. Very fun. Very British. Wayne emerges on the north side of the river into a den of roughly 5 trillion hooligans. Eventually, after using so much ammo, they're all dead and we finish off the last turret, leveling up to 5 in the process and deciding that, you know what, screw it, Wayne's a cannibal now. Why not? Another hooligan house clearance later, we're in the Syndicate's territory, as indicated by all of the folks in pinstripe suits. But before we make it to our objective, look what I found. Yeah, come on lads, let's go get some poon in it! Oh Jesus, this isn't sexy at all. It's just grim in here. I don't even want to talk about what they're doing with the Marmite-slathered black pudding sausages. Alright, let's get out of here, this wasn't as fun as I'd hoped. Moving on. Here's Yvette at the site of a Syndicate execution.
Oh, hello, stranger. How wonderful to meet you. Lovely day, innit?
Hey Yvette, how's it going?
We got intruders over here.
Yeah, we blew her cover, and the world's loudest alarm siren starts blaring. But I have just the solution to this problem. It's called a hand grenade and a double-barreled shotgun. As soon as the fight broke out, they all ran off to a safe house, and once we arrived, they thanked Wayne for eating his own shit sandwich, essentially. We're told to get our bums back to the Swan, and so 3 Fallout 4-size loading screens later, we're back for a chat with Gaunt. And would you look at that? By gum, does your belly touch your bum? We're joining the plucky gangsters.
Glad your gun's on our side.
He gives us a simple task to kill a Syndicate enforcer captain and bring back their lapel pin. He also tells us to ask the various gang members here for stuff to help with that. Johnny gives us some armor. Nice. Anthony gives us whatever the hell this is. I don't know, but I know that I don't like it. And Nelson gives us his knowledge. And then he tells us his mum wanted him to be a farmer. Go figure. So despite all of their so useful help, we're not jumping straight into that quest because I want to go and meet the folks of Thames Haven. They're probably perfectly reasonable folk. They live down here somewhere, apparently. Oh, Jesus, they're fish people! They have gills! Ugh. Okay, they're hideous, as it turns out, but as you might expect, they also need Wayne's help. They have a breach in their lower levels and have sent their resident fixer, Ferryman, in to sort it out. And as of yet, he hasn't come back. So down we go into the leech-filled puddle that is Thames Haven, slicing away with the longsword to save on ammo until we find the guy himself being eaten alive by more leeches. After helping him out and then patting his dog Sushi, good dog Sushi, he gives us a bomb and tells us to go and seal the breach. They're very trusting folk down here in London. Along the way, a legendary leech drops our first deeply disappointing item, a hooligan left arm with the assassin mod, which is maybe a good mod, just not on such a crappy base item. Also along the way is a weapon bench, which I'll use to improve the shotgun's damage. Nice. And then it's time for us to make a big boom. Wayne liked big boom. I should really do an explosives-based Fallout character one day, I feel like that would be fun. But anyway, on the way back up to Rachel, the leader of Thames Haven, to deliver the good news, I also turn our revolver into something of a sniper. It's garbage. Don't bother doing this. This is Hazel from the future. It's a waste of material. Right, anyway. Rachel says that the Thames folk are grateful. They're hideous is what they are. But anyway, we have to work with them a bit more because they know where I can find another lab like the one that I came from. Or rather, Ferryman knows where I can find a child who might know that. The child went to Rotherhithe because the Thames folk were too xenophobic for him, but to be fair, you'd probably develop some horrible lung condition after being down here for more than a week anyway, so perhaps for the best. Wayne teleports back out of Thames Haven, which you can do by the way, it's very convenient, and I didn't mention it before, but I am now. On the way to Thames Haven, you pass by a dog food factory, where you meet Churchill, a canine companion, who I chose not to bring along because he's disgusting. But now though, I'm randomly curious as to what is going on in there, and I intend to find out. Sounds just like London in here. After ransacking the offices, we arrive at the scene to see a rather small but very synchronized crowd, aside from that one guy, just standing around this Calloway guy who's yelling about their shitty boss. Their boss who's standing up here and offers us a job. I just filter out basically everything but the words "deal with" and go and remove Calloway's head with a shotgun. At which point the boss starts punching me. Okay, fine, I'll listen to what they have to say first and then blow off their head. The extra step really didn't feel necessary, but now instead of punching me, the boss pays me. But he pays me half of what he said he would, so I blew off his head too. Now that's what I call a job well done. No one in the factory seems to mind me killing that dude, and I leveled up, taking Scrounger 2. I'm not done in here though. There's a locked door to a basement, and I bet that's where they grind up the humans into dog food cans. There's literally zero chance that that isn't what's happening here. Up in the director's office there's a safe with a keycard in it, meaning we can head down there now. And yeah, it's people. I would have been surprised if it wasn't people. There's a terminal down here that needs a keycard. A keycard which this guard is holding. He'd probably have been a pretty dangerous enemy, if only they'd given him a weapon. So I killed him for his keycard, but actually now that he's dead, his armor is looking real nice. A full set of heavy riot gear. Very good. When we read the terminal, it turns out they were specifically making the food out of Thames folk. And I got a quest to go and speak with the factory boss. That's gonna be difficult. I tried eating him, but that didn't help. So, I'll be honest, I decided to resurrect him with the console just so I could get the quest dialogue. He's not exactly repentant when confronted about the whole thing, so I just killed him again. Don't look at me like that, Hillebrand. What did I do? Oh, yeah, I killed your union rep and then your boss, and then I went downstairs, and then I came back and ate your dead boss, and then I resurrected him from the dead, and then I killed him again. I think we'd best get out of here. Wayne's done enough. Briefly, we'll head back to Thames Haven to tell Ferryman what we've learned, and weirdly he suggests that we keep it quiet. Whatever, man. You do you. Which is apparently to awkwardly stand up, bump into us, and then tell us to watch where we're going. Okay, man. I don't care. We hit level 8 and took a perception point so that later I can grab lock-picking perks. So let's go find that kid then. He's hiding out in a crashed plane perched atop some busted-up buildings, which is currently surrounded by mitten lurk nests, and they won't let us in until we go and bash them all up. Which is a little bit tedious, especially given how extremely radioactive the Thames is. If you fall in for a brief moment, then that's half your health bar turned red. But anyway, after a lot of smashing and bashing, the nests are all cleared and we're allowed into the plane to meet Archie, the extremely annoying child.
Who are you, anyway?
Who tells me that him and some other folks were kidnapped and taken into an underground lab, but managed to escape and ran away. Very good. Take me back to the lab, child. We told him that if we get him to where the ferryman picked him up on the north side of the Thames, he could retrace his steps to the lab's entrance. And then he gives us a gun. It's Ferryman's fishy revolver, but he doesn't want it because he's a child, and in Fallout, children are pacifists. Alright then. Back to Ferryman to tell him that he needs to take Archie back north. We have to help him first by taking part in a short vehicle section like it's 2009 and you're playing the campaign for Modern Warfare 2. Except there you had a Humvee-mounted minigun, and here you have a crappy revolver made of plumbing parts on a boat that sounds like its engine is full of tiny church bells. But we get Ferryman and his boat to where he needs to be, and then he tells us that we need to find our own way across the river whilst he ferries Archie across. I'm not sure why, but I suspect it's to make us see more of the city, so okay, we'll do that. Tower Bridge in all of its glory will be our way across the Thames. Unfortunately, it's represented completely accurate to real life, as it's covered in cannibals dressed up as beefeaters. This is the London I remember. Gunning down cannibals with a double-barreled shotgun on Tower Bridge. Good stuff. So here we are on the north side of the river, and hey look, it's a Banksy. There's a lot of those going around. Oh Jesus Christ, that postbox is trying to kill me. That's unusual. It's basically invincible. The only solution as far as I can tell is to attract a pair of mitten lurks to bash it to death, and then kill the surviving lurk. That was quite something. Right, anyway. Onwards to, wait. What's that over there? There's a submarine out there. After platforming our way over there, we find out that it's home to a few military German ghouls, and it turns out also their artificial intelligence friend named Kant, who doesn't speak English. The machine does offer to teach us German, though I'm not exactly sure how it would do that if it doesn't speak English, but anyway, something here isn't quite right. One of the 3 crew members that the machine believes to be alive is very much not alive. And when I tell the boys that they can leave the sub now, they're cagey about it. They tell me in a roundabout kind of way that I'll need to find a language module to install into Kant so that I can speak to him and figure things out myself. When I ask why I'd want to help a submarine speak English, Kant says something about bombe. So I'd best just go and do what they want. This quest is absolutely peak Fallout. Cancel all my other appointments. I'm all in on the U-boat quest right now. We agree to take Otto up, and once we're out of the boat, he's very relieved and can finally tell us what the deal down there is. Helmut is in fact dead, obviously, but if Kant learned that he was dead, then he'd be upset. And also that Kant is really essentially just a bomb with an AI philosopher for a weapons controller, so that's why him being upset would be our problem. We also learned that there were more bomb boats, and I'm pretty sure we're being told that one of them caused what we see all around us. Or, wait, did the Soviets do it using hacked German systems? I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter anyway. We also learned that poor Helmut down there sacrificed himself by dressing as a horse and being beaten to death by his comrades to shut down the AI that had taken on the personality of Nietzsche. So that's something. But anyway, off we go to find this language module. Though I think the issue might actually be Wayne's complete lack of speechcraft rather than the language barrier. We should be able to find one at the Upton Burke headquarters, and once we arrive, we immediately explode. Right, that's a walking naval mine. We're going to have to get creative here. And by creative, I mean let them explode on Otto. He'll be fine. In we go then. They make robots here, you see, so they'll have the language thingy. It makes sense. They also have a load of British protectrons. I use arm removal technology to deal with them. This is a good idea, provided you can get away from them before they explode. I leveled up doing this, so now I can grab Locksmith level 1, allowing Wayne into more places that he's not supposed to be. But then I died to a laser turret, and I hadn't saved since before that level up, so forget about that, it didn't actually happen. We're actually taking Sneering Imperialist, a perk that increases VATS accuracy and damage to people of lower social standing. After making our way back through, we get the module that we need, and on the way out I face the consequences of my actions in the form of an advanced locked door. Very funny. But there's probably nothing good in there anyway, so back to the U-boat. And before we step back below deck, Otto confides in us that he's not exactly thrilled about the idea of going back down there, which is too bad because we have to, or Kant will get pissy and nuke London even more. So go on, in you get. Inside, we head even further below deck to where the language module is to be installed. And then we have a very long conversation with the boat, which now speaks English. We ask it what its purpose is and have it explain various philosophical concepts in exhausting detail. And I got stuck here, to be honest. Having just explored every conversation option and made no diplomatic progress, I stepped away and looked around and found myself locked into the boat. Because apparently Kant now considers me an oath-sworn member of the German Navy and forbids me from deserting. Huh. Well then, I'd best double-check these conversation options. And sure enough, I just straight-up missed the one very important option that stumps him, implying that he treats people as a means to an end in order to achieve his goals. He gets very upset about this and shuts himself down permanently. Alright, I think that's a bit extreme, but that's philosophers for you. Otto and Hans are thrilled to be free, but honestly I suspect they're going to die up in the not-so-great outdoors. Well, that's not my problem though, so I'd guess we best get back on with the main questline, which in case you'd forgotten already involves meeting Ferryman and Archie to learn the location of this lab. On the way there I stumble into Ferryman's little riverside shack where he apparently keeps a dream journal. It's quite cute, he longs for the open seas, and asks the age-old question that we all spend our nights wondering. Why's the rum gone? Anyway, we find him violating a navigator robot named Barry on the shores of the Thames, and he asks us to turn on this navigation beacon. There are 11 of them in total, and I assume they act as some kind of fast travel network, but I'll be honest with you, I never found another. He tells us that while we were gone, they found the entrance to the lab and he gives us the key. Archie also tells us that the people he was down there with were like family to him, and to find out what happened to them if we can. Okay. On the way there, we run into a group of gatherers. Weird hooded folk who usually wield things like rolling pins as weapons. But on this occasion, one of them has a flamethrower, which is, fun. But on the bright side, now it's me who has a flamethrower. It's not particularly effective against this cyber pigeon that we meet just before our objective though, so we'd best just stick to the shotty for now. Inside this monument is the entrance to the lab, and as soon as we enter, something makes a loud noise. That's not usually a good sign. Naturally, Wayne runs towards the noise, but the door has no power, so I guess we have to resolve that issue first. There's a load of turrets all over this place that I'm going to take the opportunity to destroy whilst the power is still off, because that just seems like a smart thing to do. And in a room down the hall, we turn on the power and then have to come back past all of those turrets, which would definitely have been shooting at us right now, and head for the shouty door, where we meet this guy. And also, for some reason, the door locks behind me. Of course it does. This seems like as good a time as any to use all of that flamer fuel. Unfortunately though, I got stuck in some fallen shelving and given the bonking of a lifetime. Help me, step mutant, I'm stuck! Second time around, we'll avoid any shelving and kite the big boy around the room, very slowly burning him to death. And hey, look at that, an incendiary crude gun. That will probably be handy. We also grab a zap pistol from a chest in here. A little British laser gun, innit? The terminal here essentially says that things went badly in here. No shit. And that the important people went elsewhere as a result. So, to be honest, we didn't really learn much here. But okay, fair enough. Back to Archie, where we tell him exactly what happened to his friends in excruciating detail, which he didn't seem to love hearing, but he does tell us that the ghoul he escaped with, Lazarus, knows about more of the labs, and has gone to St. Paul's Cathedral. He also asks if he can join us there, but there's not a chance. Wayne has a strict no kids policy. So, alone we run to Sanctuary's gates, where the gatekeeper is obviously supposed to be, but instead, he's down the road for some reason.
I'm sorry.
He's also French. And there's nothing wrong with being French, but this guy named Frenchman is, entirely unrelatedly I'm sure, a complete knobhead.
Welcome anyone in, but we're expecting an attack.
They're anticipating an attack that we get to watch pop into the world because of our very unusual position, which means I get to test that fiery new gun. Oh, fiery. After helping them fend off the attack, Frenchmen still won't let us in until we go and kill the leader of that particular hooligan group. Fine. So let me go take a quick nap first, because I've got to look my best for Violent Violet, or whatever her name was. And they're holed up in this guild hall, apparently. On the way in, we level up, and this time I'm definitely taking Locksmith. No more keeping Wayne out of the goodies. In the doorway, we shotgun a few of the hooligans to bits before someone downstairs announces that it's fine. There ain't nothing here. There's a good few of them in here, but quickly enough, Wayne finds himself downstairs, setting Violet's face on fire. Very good. Back we go then to the Frenchman, where we find yet another attack underway. After helping out with which, and having a quick snack, we are, perhaps surprisingly with our face covered in gore, let into Sanctuary. And yeah, that sure is St. Paul's Cathedral. Surprisingly well recreated, both inside and out. That's actually really sick, but there's no time to enjoy the scenery. We're looking for Lazarus, who it turns out isn't here anymore. He left a while ago, and we're told that Father Luke here was investigating him, convinced he was selling chems to the cathedral's residents. And he absolutely was. Here's a list of the buyers in his bedroom. We figure out that Bones from the list is the gravedigger's apprentice, but he's tight-lipped about it, so we have to go and find his stash before he'll be a bit more loose-lipped.
Please, I swear, I don't play with that stuff.
He's not cut out for burying bodies all day and took Wonderland to get to sleep every night. Apparently Laz's Wonderland had a peculiar smell, one of cheeseweed, a clue that lets us locate his remaining stash here in the gardens, where we also find a note detailing a meeting between Laz and some other mean folks. We don't know who yet, but it's taking place at a Beefeater Burger, a good ways east of here. When we finally make it over there, through weird cultists and around a hospital and a load of really frighteningly tanky bloatflies, we find a holotape that Laz used to record their meeting. Whilst dealing with some nearby gatherers, we listen, a bit like listening to an audiobook whilst driving, and we learn that he was taken to Winter Garden by the Syndicate, which is quite a ways off, so best get running, Wayne. But wait, don't run there! Oh dear. That's an unhealthy dose of the Thames. But oh well, nice shot on the way out at least. The journey to Winter Garden is rather eventful. Wayne cooked some sleeping hooligans alive in their bed cage, mowed down some feral hogs, and even leveled up by discovering this bunker door. Nice. We'll take level 1 of the Commando perk, since at least so far, aside from the shotgun, we've been using a lot of full auto weaponry. I decided to investigate a random children's hospital along the way, because surely there's nothing mentally scarring in the... Oh god, Pudsey! Pudsey, please forgive me, I didn't want to do this, but you made me! Right, onwards. I also found and decimated a settlement of Thames folk hooligans, who it turns out don't respond very well to Molotov cocktails or buckshot to the face. Who'd have guessed? This kind of wanton violence is possibly not a great idea, as I'm finding it very difficult to build up a good supply of ammo. It is, however, quite good fun, so, you know, I'm going to keep doing it. Eventually, a whole lot of hooligans later, I can see across the water where I need to be. The land of perfectly trimmed hedges, pinstripe suits and bowler hats. Over we go then, to make a start on the Syndicate folks, who by this point rather dislike us, so there's no way of getting to our objective without even more prolonged and ammo-expensive combat encounters. Which is why when we level up again a little ways into one of those encounters, I'll take Commando level 2. Because if we do more damage, we use less ammo. It's big brain stuff. Nonetheless, I had to resort to using the Zap pistol for a lot of this combat. And that thing is terrible. But I have hundreds of cells for it, so, you know, desperate times and all that. One of these Syndicate folks was packing some cherry bakewells, my personal favourite of the British delicacies represented in this game. Here's a pro bakewell tip for you. If you scoop out the insides, fill the shell with a thick onion gravy and then put the top back on, that right there is a sensory delight for the ages. You should try it sometime. Trust me, I'm British. Right, anyway, we're at Winter Garden, and since I'm running out of ammo, I'm just going to yeet in a pulse mine to do most of the work before finishing up with Old Faithful. Conveniently, this fella here, the sniffer, what's he sniffing? Who knows? Seats? Panties? The sniffer was one of those guys that the Peaky Blinders wanted us to kill, so we grab their lapel pin and then have a brief conversation with a very frosty Lazarus, who tells us the location of the lab we want to get into, but also tells us that we would need a gas mask to get in there safely. But that's a problem for later, because now we're going to go and get inducted properly into the Peaky Blinders. Once Gaunt has told us that his mother wanted him to be a farmer, of course. I mainly just did this for the quest completion XP, to be honest. After they give me their official uniform and it consists of a flat cap and some overalls, I think I'm gonna pass and follow my quest to get into that lab to learn my origins instead. So I sort of just went out wandering south from the Swan. There's a lot of map out here, and I wanted to get some levels. Eventually I came across what looks like the fence of an old Air Force base, which is confirmed by the Spitfire at the gates. That's a thing we do here. I don't know if they do that everywhere else, but it's probably a waste of resources, whatever. Out by the hangars there's some kind of settlement with its funny looking horses and freaky little chickens. And then I found the feral tree people. Ugh, yucky. I don't like feral tree people. They're gross. Especially the glowing ones, because they waste all of my ammo. But they also bumped me up to level 13, for which I'll grab gun nut level 2. But anyway, back to that settlement. You'd assume that this means there's people here, and sure enough, there are. In this ritual circle, listening to a giant tree man give some kind of sermon. Huh. He tells us that the local dryads are being weird and angry lately. Yep, I saw that firsthand, Gordo, but apparently there's more. Far more. More than I could ever possibly have the ammo to deal with. Thankfully then, I also have another pulse mine and a Molotov to help thin the herd. Whew, that was a lot of dryads. Alright, Gordo, I did it. Give me part 2 of the quest, because I know it wasn't that simple. It never is. So it turns out Gordo here worked in one of Angel's labs on some weird Eden project type stuff. I think if I complete this quest, then I get to use this place as a settlement, which will be nice. But down in the Pindar station I got a little bit confused. So there's a load of switches and stuff on the wall and all that, but thankfully there's also a terminal with instructions here. Lever C1, firmly grasp it, then pull lever C3, then pull the power switch. Got it, no problem. Now what? There's this hand scanner thing over here, but I can't use it. I assumed that to get in here I would have to find the correct hand to use with this scanner, but that isn't actually correct. Much, much later I'll figure this out, and believe me, it's insanely dumb what I've missed, but you have to wait. And whilst you're waiting, go ahead and like the video, because if you've made it this far you clearly like it. Might as well subscribe too while you're down there. Never mind then, back to the main quest we go, which as you may remember requires a gas mask, which means a visit to the Tommies over at the Imperial War Museum. So I fast travelled to the Upton Burke HQ, my closest point of interest, and this thing was still here. Nice. So, okay, we'll be travelling from a little further afield instead. The journey is uneventful, and before too long we're in the Tommies' lines, looting their ammo cans. It's fine, they won't need it. The War Museum is pretty sick. Tanks are cool. Don't get me wrong, war is bad. I don't generally like when people kill each other for their leaders' political gains, but goddamn tanks are cool. Anyway, the general here is a complete arsehole, and naturally they won't just give me a gas mask, but they will pay me with one for killing a load of hooligans. They're holed up in the Bank of England, apparently, which we access slightly circuitously through Monument Underground Station, infested with hooligans as it is. They ask silly questions like, "Are you trying to sneak up on me?"
Trying to sneak up on me?
Girl, no, obviously I'm not. I've been blasting away at your friends down the hall for like 10 minutes. Anyway, I ate one of them and then got very upsettingly quickly burned to death by a flamethrower trap, so I had to do that all again. Cool. Eventually we're out in the world again looking at the Bank of England itself, where we keep all of the dosh. Once inside, Wayne lines up a beauty of a shot on a legendary radroach, who turned out to be holding a pretty interesting double barrel with the kneecapper mod. This is probably quite useful in certain specific situations. Now the BOE is pretty much as full to the brim as it's possible for a building to be with hooligans. Seriously, there's a lot. But somewhere amongst them I found a key to get through to a more central area of the bank, which is unsurprisingly full of even more hooligans, and another locked door. I need the bank manager's key, which took me a little while to find. It turns out it was in this little preservation shelter. It should have been obvious because the skeleton is wearing a top hat, but it's also wearing a police uniform, so you can't blame me too much for missing it. Deeper into the bank Wayne goes then, finally towards the shiny beating heart. The vault. Guarded by, yes, you guessed it, more hooligans. Including their boss, Moneybags Sullivan, who donates his monocle and top hat to Wayne's Hazor cosplay. Very good. So that's our quest for the gas mask complete. But there's someone trapped in the bank vault, which I think warrants investigating. She tells me I need to go and get a keycard down in the basement, which unfortunately contains the game's tankiest enemy. A glowing one. Well, time for the kneecapper shotgun to do its job, I guess. Completely immobilizing it on the stairs so that I can very slowly finish it off with various other crappy guns. But it was worth the time because we hit level 14, and we'll take locksmith too. Because there are a lot of hard locks around London, and I really hate not knowing what's behind a door, you know? Down in the basement we do get that keycard, we read some lore about how a rich family lived down here and drank good wine for a while. Good for them, I guess. And then we head back up to open that vault. Oh, shiny. But aside from the dragon's hoard of gold, there's also a weird woman here, Kira, who fancies herself something of a Tomb Raider type. A plucky adventurer uncovering the truth of things. Oh, and also a load of near brain-dead ghouls who've been stuck in here since the war. Don't worry about them. Allegedly the real gold was swapped out a few days before the start of the war with plated tungsten. I don't know, dude, she thinks it's something about time travelers. I'm really not sure, I think she's probably just batshit. But she wants to follow us around, and I had planned to play this run alone, but it's turning out to be quite hard, so she can come along and help out. Also because I need somebody to hold all of these loose gold bars, which may or may not just be plated tungsten. I don't care. The traders of post-apocalypse London are very unlikely to tell the difference. They're not actually worth much anyway. 19 bars of it go to Crispin here for a mere 247 tickets, but it's better than nothing. So now let's go and get that gas mask, which we apparently retrieved from Colonel Major here, who tells us the situation in Islington. It's bad, apparently. I never actually mentioned it, but the reason we need a gas mask is because of a disease called tunnel cough that killed a whole lot of people. There's probably some lore somewhere detailing more about it, but all I know is that I have to wear this thing if I want to go to Islington. Which I do. As soon as we're done talking, Colonel Major just starts belting out the national anthem right into my face.
Long live our noble queen.
A surprisingly common occurrence around these parts. And for some reason wearing that mask activates some kind of debug message system. I'm not really sure, just ignore it. Now, on the way to Islington, Wayne shows some beefeaters what death by bullet feels like, and then immediately afterwards asserts his dominance by eating them. Kira liked that? Oh, I see. She's a freak. Interesting. Soon enough, we're headed through to Hackney, where there's a fight happening. No big deal, those are happening pretty much all over the place in London. There's a quest that starts here for one of the sub-factions, but I don't have time for that. Leave me alone, weirdos, I've got stuff to do. A little later on, steadily working our way through Hackney, Wayne confirms that Kira really is just into cannibalism.
Sate your strange desires.
And then he falls off a roof. Good job, Wayne. But the reason we had to come through Hackney is apparently because this one sewer manhole right here leads through to Islington. I don't know, whatever, there must have been another way, but in we go. It's very loud in here because of the flowing water, but I killed this one legendary ghoul and got a plasma-infused 9mm pistol. Nice. And for a while now I've had no idea where Kira is, by the way, but up on the way out of the sewer, I found her stuck behind some pipes. You doing okay back there, Kira? Alright, whatever. Out of the sewers and into Islington. Which doesn't seem too bad, to be honest. At least not initially. There's a load of miller's men here with knives, but the air seems pretty breathable so far. And hey, look at this telecoms cabinet with a slightly modified version of the ancient British Telecom logo. You probably don't really care, but I think it sort of shows the weird level of detail that went into this mod alongside all of the obvious stuff like the Iron Brew, Fesco, Morrisings, etc, etc. Anyway, whatever, let's go into the stank zone. The air turns red and there's nasty puddles all over the place, confirming that it is indeed stanky. There are a load of very unhappy locals, but none of them have anything to say to Wayne, so all by ourselves, no help from them, we found our way to the Angel Underground station. A little ways underground, that Smythe guy from earlier starts speaking to us through some speakers. He seems kind of proud of us, which is weird, but it makes more sense when on the other side of the door we're faced with gross infected clones. Yeah, we turned out a lot better than them, at least. Thankfully, the gross infected clones are just as vulnerable to shotgun shells as regular people are. And they also provide XP just like regular people. So we hit level 15 and just take a boring agility level, because we need them to unlock later perks, and then we find another door that Smythe will just kind of talk at us through whilst we're busy being shot at by the turrets guarding it. He's decided to be a dick now and tells us that he won't be opening the door, meaning that we have to take the side entrance, which is just a hole in the wall nearby. Upon entering the actual lab itself, Kira wants to talk about how cool we are for eating all of those corpses. And look, Kira, that's nice, but you're just here to carry my bars of gold around, not to be my friend. So even deeper into the lab, I'm finding some pretty nice living quarters. Hey, someone here even seems to be a Warhammer nerd. Look at their little painting desk. Wait, this is Smythe's room? Huh. Alright, wouldn't have guessed. He has a terminal entry about how mini-painting is his escape from the apocalyptic situation. Oh, Smythe. Me and you are cut from the same cloth. So let's go deeper. Our hand works in this scanner here because we're him, and even more clones later, including this dumb one that got stuck in a wall, we find what I assume is their main clone storage. It's neat, very green, very Matrix. But as soon as we enter the next room, Smythe initiates the Piccadilly protocol, whatever that means, and a train, presumably containing him, leaves the station and a timer appears at the top of the screen. For what? I do not know. But there's also a load of these big clones spawning, and a hand scanner that I can't currently use. We slowly managed to put down the big clones with our little plasma 9mm, but apparently it was too slow, because just as it looks like we've done it, the place goes boom. Well, let's try that again, but with the shotgun this time. A considerably more effective weapon for putting down giant super clones. Popping our arm into the scanner stopped the self-destruct process and also cured our lab rat affliction. I'm not sure why, I'm pretty sure this was actually supposed to kill us, but, you know, as we discovered earlier, we're him. So now Smythe asks us to meet him at the Palace of Westminster, where the gentry and the other toffs live. But first, leaving the lab spits us out into King's Cross Station, which, and I hope this joke isn't getting too old yet, looks just like I remember it, including the feral clones. There are a lot of them though, and I don't have very much ammo. That's why I've been using the 9mm so much, by the way. It's the only thing I have a good supply for. It's also why I'm basically playing a VATS build in this video. It's more accurate and therefore more ammo efficient than I usually am. Okay, here we are back out into London, with our next waypoint being down by Trafalgar Square, which I assume is some large settlement, since we found a book that marked it on our map earlier just like you do for Diamond City in Fallout 4. It's quite a long ways off though, so we'd best get moving. Right next to the station, as in real life, is the St Pancras International Hotel, where you can normally find the UK's most photographed car. It's not here, sadly. It would have been quite a funny detail if there was a decrepit pink McLaren out here. But as much as I'd like to potter around this very well-known area of London, Wayne's gotta go do some ammo shopping, because there's none left. I return fairly often to this Ahab guy in Thames Haven, because he sells all the ammo I'd need. But this time he's also caught my eye with this Zap machine gun. I'm sat on almost 500 laser ammo, so its price of 410 tickets seems like a pretty good deal to me. With one problem solved, for a little while at least, we'll travel to St Paul's and walk to Trafalgar from there. The way is paved, as it ever is, with soon-to-be-dead hooligans, who provide the required experience for level 16, with which we grab 5 intelligence to unlock the scrapper perk for later. Because basic materials like screws are very scarce and it's holding back my weapon modding itch. But the hooligans were merely an aperitif, because this is a Raja, which is pretty horrifying. When eventually Wayne managed to laser it to death, it dropped a legendary lever-action rifle. That's cool, but not really our style today. And hey, remember that telecom logo I told you about earlier? Here's another fun telecom detail. That logo is on a funny little bright yellow van, just like the real ones from the 70s and 80s. I reckon someone in the art team works for BT, or maybe their dad did or something. In case you're curious, I was a telecoms engineer before the channel took off. That's why I recognize this stuff. I'm glad to be free of all that, mind you. If you want an example of how much staff is valued there, then check out this photo of the toilet paper that the engineers have to use in telephone exchanges. It's more like the brief suggestion of toilet paper, as you finger your own asshole. Anyway, just down the road a bit more, we run into a load of cultists. I don't know what or who they worship, they're just cultists, and therefore they're hostile. And that's fine, I don't mind, because one of them had a combat shotgun. Very nice. Later on, this will become a staple of Wayne's arsenal, but he doesn't know that yet, so we finish off the cultists with the auto-zapper, including this one wielding a bodged-together missile launcher. And then we continue our journey to Trafalgar. The new shotty gets a brief test on some more hooligans, and then the game's performance starts to nosedive, indicating that we're nearing a large settlement. But, I mean, wow, it's really bad. Somehow it's even worse than Diamond City. There doesn't really seem to be that much here to warrant the performance loss either, but whatever, there is a man who sells guns, including this fusion-converted Zap machine gun. Just like the one that we've been using, but instead of little cells, it uses a fusion core for 500 shots. That's not too shabby. But enough shopping, into Westminster we go. The Tommies guard the gate and say that the entry list is quite exclusive, so they're just as surprised as me to see that our name is actually on the list. Thanks, Smythe, I assume. Immediately upon entering Westminster, we're assaulted by a posh kid. Fuck off, leave me alone. But apparently Smythe's train from Islington never made it to its destination, and crashed somewhere around here, so that's where we're headed first. Oh yeah, that's a pretty serious biff, alright. But the Tommy guarding the area tells us there was no one on board. Whoever investigated the crash site wasn't particularly thorough though, because right here on a platform, right next to a medical box, is Smythe's business card, including his job title, office address, and the Angel logo. Perhaps not the brightest bunch, those Tommies. So that office is our next stop then, through some of the bits of London that even you Americans might recognise. Look, it's Big Ben. It's Six a Bong and all that, innit? Anyway, they don't just let you into the Palace of Westminster, where Smythe may or may not be. The Irishman at the gates will, however, give us some intel on Smythe, so long as we're willing to clear a house of some squatters for him. A very British pastime, of course, moving the homeless along. The squatters in question are cavaliers, weirdos dressed in some sort of royal guard outfit. Cavalry types, I guess. Whatever they are, this fusion-powered laser machine gun is extremely effective at murdering them. One of them had a uniform offering a tasty 69, nice, physical armor. Inside, the situation is much the same. Cavaliers waiting to be put down and eaten. Back at the palace, we're told by that guard... Wait a minute.
Someone called Smythe has been putting a lot of pressure on Parliament.
That guard is calling me Kevin. Okay, anyway, Kevin tells us that Smythe has some plan to deal with all the various raider factions, once and for all, and to give the streets of London back to the good folk, whoever they are. Kevin also tells me of an old law, the Parliament Representation Act of 2177, which essentially states that I have to be let in if I get a signature from the leader of each tithe-paying London borough, which means Camden, Hackney, Lamberth and Islington. Oh, Jesus. This is going to be a lot of side questing, isn't it? Well, on the bright side, completing the squatter clearance quest leveled us up to 17, with which we'll take the scrapper perk like I said earlier, so that we can dismantle rusty crude guns for screws. Now, thankfully we don't necessarily have to be completely honest about acquiring these signatures. This Clifford dude here, sat at a cafe, will forge them for us if we can give him a handwriting sample. For a price, of course. A price that will apparently increase with each signature, kind of like a reverse loyalty program. We're going to head into Islington first, where the local leader is Miller, the guy whose men were trying to stab us to death earlier. Surely their leader is a perfectly amenable dude. I'm sure he'll be even more amenable once we've fought our way through all of his dudes to get to him. On the way there, I found Doctor Who's police box. There's 14 more of them apparently, scattered throughout London. That's very funny. I won't be tracking them down though, I'm far too busy. I just wanted to point this one out, because it's weird. Anyway, surprisingly Miller is actually quite amenable, and his side quest for us doesn't seem too awful. He wants us to go and repay a life debt to some random dude named John Marsh, who he thought was dead, but turns out to be at St. Paul's. If we do that, he'll sign our thingy. And sure enough, over at the cathedral, here's John. Not looking so great. He asks us to go and put down his feral ghoul of a girlfriend at London City Airport. Can do, John. See you in a few hours. Or so I thought. London City Airport is all the way down here. It's a long walk through some nasty places, starting with muddy heaps of mitten lurks, which aren't a huge problem. Wayne is a pretty good shot in VATS by now, so with the combat shotgun, they only take a few pumps in the face to go down. Or flying away, like this one did for some reason. Then we've got to murder a load of Syndicate folks who are just chilling in a radiation storm, and then there's a load of ghouls hanging around a Volzon warehouse. Very funny. Then a load of hooligans that are hanging around a multi-story car park that in its day would have cost you £5 just to drive through. God forbid you actually park there. And anyway, into the airport. Finally. Which is just swarming with ghouls, predictably. We're here for one of them, after all. One of them drops a legendary irradiated gamma gun. And I mean, that is rather the point of a gamma gun, but okay, cool, I guess. It's not very useful in here though, obviously, because they're all already quite irradiated. Soon enough we find Jane, and it looks like she's been working out. A lot. She has so much health that I'm genuinely worried I don't have enough ammo to kill her. The only bright side is that the room you fight her in is mega cheesy, with these planters that she can't get up on. So when, after a lot of ammo and a very long time, we get her to half health, she runs off into the corner of the room and literally disappears in a cloud of smoke. What? Now a new section of the airport that's also full to the bursting with ghouls has opened up for us to waste ammo in. Molotovs help out a lot here, but still, the situation is getting pretty bad. I'm mainly left with 32 rounds, which really don't do very much damage. On the bright side, we've hit level 18. So I'm taking Action Boy because this is turning into a very VATS-focused character. We eventually catch up with Jane down here in baggage collection, and she's healed back up to full, of course. We really don't do enough damage here. I don't feel like there is a great way for me to tell you quite how bullet spongy she is. I got her to about half health, at which point I didn't have enough ammo to finish the job, and then she killed me anyway. So I turned the difficulty down to very easy to get this fight done, and it still took a full 2 minutes of shooting her. That's absolutely insane. But okay, job done. Back to John Marsh. You'd better be bloody thankful. Oh god damn it, he's dead. Right, whatever. Technically the job is done for Miller, and you know what? He's actually pretty nice about it. Considering his followers wear corpse paint and try to shiv you on the street, he's a pretty nice guy. He considers the debt paid and pays us 2,500 tickets, which will buy about half the ammo that we used on Jane back, so that's nice. And of course he signs our petition. Great, 1 of 4. The next one is Hackney, where the mods live. If you're not British, the mods are kind of like, well, I don't know, they're just weird British people from the 50s and 60s that liked very specific music and crappy two-stroke scooters, or mopeds as we'd call them. They live in this place, the shop, and their leader, Prince Pete Davis, basically won't talk to us at all. He appears to be a bit of a chem enthusiast. He even has a syringer gun, which made me think maybe I had to drug him so he'd sign my petition.
Hello?
But no, he's obviously got quite a tolerance built up, and I'm not about to join this sub-faction just to get a signature, when there's a letter with his signature on it right up here. So that looked pretty quick, but it actually took me 15 minutes to find it. But hey, I'd rather spend 15 minutes rummaging around this dude's bedroom than kill another immortal ex-girlfriend. So, next, Camden, which we haven't actually been to yet, so I've no idea what's going on there. It's accessed via Euston Station, which still has a rat problem. A nice guard lady is kind enough to tell us that the Pistols run Camden. Punks, that is. Their HQ is called Cyberfox. And yeah, they feel more cyberpunk than old school punk. It's absolutely thumping in here. Their leader, Alice, is in here somewhere, but I'm gonna do some poking around first. Breaking into a storeroom behind an expert door here. Didn't take that locksmith perk for nothing. Wayne sorted out their pig rat infestation and helped himself to their ammo reserves as payment. Alright, so here's Alice, and by the sounds of it she'll only sign our petition if we're actually members of the Pistols. Now I don't think that's gonna happen, so let's have a look around for a letter or something. There's gotta be one here. Maybe in here? No. How about this one? No, that's a whip. Maybe this one? No, that's a massive turd. What about on this table? You know, I don't actually know what's going on here, but it's definitely not a letter.
The smell is just vile.
Alright, fine, I give up, I can't find it. I'll go kill some hooligans for Alice. They've taken over a school nearby, which the Pistols want for some reason. I didn't pay much attention. Either way, there's much hooligan blasting to be done. It's not particularly difficult, these are just baseline hooligans after all, they usually go down in one blast from the combat shotgun. There are a lot of them though. There's also an old Lee Enfield rifle in a display case in this school. I don't think that's normal, but okay. As I get up through the floors of the school, blasting onwards towards their leader Edwina, they got me pretty good with this turret placed in the room that you're obviously going to duck into cover for. Very clever, hooligans. Very clever. But you didn't anticipate I'd have a VATS crit stored up for just such an occasion. Okay, a little bit more blasting later and we're done. We can head back to Alice. But I had to have another look for a letter first. I know there's got to be one here somewhere, and I hate to be beaten by a glorified point-and-click pixel hunt. And sure enough, there is one, but well, only in spirit, really. You can't actually see it, but tucked down the back of her bed, apparently there's something down here. Which is lucky, because when I report back, Alice basically lines up another 3 side quests for us. Okay, I'm gonna head out, I'll just get the signature forged. But first, just for me, just a little blasting to calm the voices. Oh, very good. Anyway, 3 of 4 signatures sorted. The last one is out in the main area of London, where we've spent most of the game so far. Lamberth. I actually have no idea which faction technically rules over the place, but before we get into that anyway, I was wondering if now that I know I'm a Smythe clone, can I use that hand scanner down by the Tree Man Druid? So I head down there and have a peep. It doesn't look like it, so let's check the terminal again. Same as before. But wait, there's more. It turns out that despite the user interface not telling me so, you just press enter to get the next page of instructions. I did wonder why there were so many buttons and switches in here if the instructions only used 2. So after a much lengthier sequence of switches and dials, we can go in, and we almost certainly could have done that earlier. Oops. Anyway, as you'd expect, there are dryads inside, as well as this big freaky eyeball. And to absolutely no one's surprise at all, there's a ridiculously bullet-spongy glowing one down in the deepest section of the lab, just waiting to eat all of my ammo. But you know what turned out to be a really surprisingly effective strategy for putting it down? That missile launcher that I took from some cultists a while ago. I have no idea why it did so much damage, but I guess it simultaneously crippled all of its limbs and that did a load of extra bonus damage or something. Whatever, I really don't care why it worked. It worked. There's a terminal over here that might have some answers. Oh, Jesus Christ, the tree has a face. Scared the balls out of me.
Hello there, traveller.
Turns out this tree is actually Gordo's lover. Something, Eden device merged him with a tree. You know, normal everyday stuff. He tells us that the Dryads are pissy because some automated alarm started going off, which we turned off on our way in. Obviously, he can't leave the lab, so we'll head up and tell Gordo what's going on down here. He's very... huh?
You know what?
Oh, sorry, a Dryad interrupted. Right. He's very... Again? Okay, this time for real. He's very... Oh, God. Seriously. Are we done now? Okay. He's very thankful and pleased that his boyf is still technically alive down there and tells us to come back in a few days. Also, we leveled up to 19 and took Action Boy 2. Very good. So we'll head to Tower Bridge where we dealt with all of those beefeaters earlier, who've apparently respawned annoyingly. And I came here because I remembered that they had a nice bed. So we'll sleep here for a few days until this Return to Garten objective pops up. Is it Gordon or Gordo? Make up your mind, tree man. Whoever he is, he makes us a head druid. A lovely title which grants us use of that workbench we found here earlier, and he also gives us his massive axe staff. It's very heavy, so I'll just give it to Kira.
I feel like it.
Right, we have a settlement now. Finally. But well, it's very bare bones. It's literally just a workbench. And to build anything more useful, we'd need local leader 2, and therefore we'd also need charisma. Something that Wayne definitely doesn't currently have. So, that's a bit of a bust. I guess what we gained here is a storage shed, and a place to sleep, I suppose. So with that slight failure, let's get on with the main quest. Figuring out who we need to speak to down here in Lamberth, after getting our near-fatal radiation poisoning cured in Thames Haven, that is. Our nearest waypoint is Southwark Ruins, so we'll teleport there and start running south past this random Tesla thing, where Kira will jump scare the shit out of me with that staff. And deeper into the parkland we run through this cute Cthulhu altar? Weird. Wayne briefly fell into the water here and lost most of his health to rads again, undoing the good doctor's work. And then I saw these things. I don't like them. I don't know what they are, but I don't like them. And I'm not doing very much damage to them either. Kira, on the other hand, with that axe, can actually put some pretty wild damage down. This whole time she's been calling me her sidekick, and I'm starting to think that she might be right. Anyway, the deeper I get into this area, the more I suspect something has gone wrong. And as I arrive at Brickton, that's pretty well confirmed. There's just no one here. It feels like there should be people here. So I restarted the game, loaded an earlier save, and sure enough, this time the area is crawling with people that want me dead. Mainly industrialists that need mowing down. Oh god, there's also another one of these things. Kira, go, deal with the problem for me. Oh, it just zooped out of existence.
Fine.
That's weird. Oh, come on! If that weren't a funny moment for the video, I'd be more upset. When we make it back to Brickton, we find that it's actually populated this time. They've got Tommies at the gate and appear to be a simple tribal folk. Their leader sleeps on a heart-shaped mattress surrounded by women, and when we wake him up, starts asking us riddles like a bridge guardian of old.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
He's not into the idea of signing our petition, but would you believe it? He'll do it if we complete a side quest for him. What a concept. It turns out the Tommies at the gate aren't just a friendly security force, they're the Colonials, here to civilize the Bricktonians. Ah yes, the British way. So, okay, we go and talk to their lieutenant, who's a bit of a knob, predictably, and tells us that they're here for two things. To get more tithe money from the Bricktonians, and to build a bridge over some lava chasm to find another tribe, the Croydonians, and then also get tithe money from them too. The initial bridge building operation went to pot, so now it's our job to figure out why. Okay, fine, off we go into the Magma Canyon to see exactly what's happened here. Quickly we find the entrance to Croydon's Pindar station and a place to build a bridge, if only we had the materials. The materials are in the Pindar, of course, meaning we need the password to enter. A password that I'm willing to bet we'll find somewhere this way. Along the way we face a firefighter protectron, a load of feral ghouls, and then we find a post office, along with its guard box. Perhaps the password to the Pindar lives in here somewhere. Nope, just a sorting room full of ghouls. Typical everyday Croydon. One is a legendary, and after a few pops in the face from the trusty 9mm, he presents us with something pretty neat. A never-ending heavy machine gun. It has the converted mod, which is I think why it uses 5mm ammo instead of the much higher damage, but also much harder to find 303 stuff. I could be wrong though. In any case, we'll be having that. Suddenly it feels like I'm playing a Wolfenstein game with a massive MG42 in the middle of my screen. But sadly, when given the chance to test it on some fiery dogs, it's extremely ammo inefficient. 5mm ammo is cheap and relatively plentiful, but at 5 damage per shot, well, it works, but it won't work for long, basically. Even deeper into Croydon we go then. Descending into the magma tunnels, which are full of pig rats for Kira to mash up. I should probably find her some armor one of these days. And deeper still into Croydon we find this, the Crystal Palace Maze, which is an actual hedge maze in London, but I assume that this encounter is also a reference to an ancient and quite weird British game show just called Crystal Maze, which as far as I can tell was pretty much just an early version of the escape rooms that are so popular today, with a really, really strange host. Really strange. Unfortunately for Wayne, we have to partake, because the robot straight up tells us that he'll give us the key we need if we do. Well, when in a maze, hug the left wall. That literally always works. But then, most hedge mazes don't have automated turret defenses, so... Okay, look, this maze took me about 40 minutes in total, and it's pretty difficult to actually portray since, for the most part visually, it's just me running into leaves. But essentially there are 4 keys spread around the maze in various little traps. One was inside of a very tanky ghoul, a second was just hid in a lunchbox in an area full of landmines hidden under cardboard boxes, the third is just on the floor in a patch of very radioactive thistles, and before I get to the fourth, I leveled up by disarming a tripwire, and took Locksmith level 3, so I can pick Master Locks now, which will be important in a moment. First though, the 4th key. It's in a telephone box. In the same area there's also this legendary plasma pistol called Loki, which I don't think I was supposed to be able to just grab, but whatever. The phone boxes are trapped, but you can just disarm them all, no problem. And with all 4 keys we can now open these gates that let us into the centre of the maze. We also could have just unlocked this master level gate to bypass all of that. This is just one of those moments where you lie to yourself saying it's about the journey or something. It's not about the journey, it's about the goddamn destination, which we could have got to much faster. But anyway, it turns out the reward for reaching the center of the maze is death, which is not very nice. So, okay, we'll do that a bit more carefully this time. The robot that's been yelling at us this whole time, it turns out is a Protectron stuck in a trolley. And once he's finally shot up for good, we find the Croydon Pindar key on a plinth here. Finally. Inside we find a load of ghouls to burn to death, and a big box full of heavy building supplies for that bridge. Kira, come here. I need you to carry things. Well, I've no idea where she went, but eventually we managed to build this bridge, on the other side of which there are more tanky glowing things. And you know what? I can't be bothered wasting ammo on this. I'm just running past. This path leads us to... another bridge building point? So, just as before, we take the other path assuming that we'll find something to build it with, and before too long we enter a tunnel containing some Tommies fighting this thing. A Gehenna. Look, guys, I don't have any ammo. This is entirely on you. It's all over for the Gehenna here once Kira joins the fight, of course, because she's kind of just a beast. Second Lieutenant Buckley here tells us what happened, and she tells us that she'll send her team back to base and wait for us to build the second bridge. Oh, okay. You'll just wait, will you? Right. Okay. Of course you will. I'll just do everything. Cool. No problem. To be fair though, that is as simple as heading out through a door, grabbing a support beam from a skip, and then going back to build the bridge with the leftover resources from before. With this bridge built, we finally make it to the home of the Croydonians, who speak all Shakespeare-like. He says some things that I would need my literature teacher to help me understand, and I feared there was another side quest yet to go. But thankfully, my job here is done. I don't need to help them, so before he's even talking, I'm out of here. Back to Lieutenant Doyle at the gates of Brickton, who needs convincing not to be a complete arsehole to the Brickstonians, and with that done, Chief Roach here will sign our damn petition. Finally then, we're back in Westminster, headed to Clifford the Big Red Dog to get 2 signatures forged, for each of which he gets into character. It's actually pretty funny.
We are the mods, we are the mods, we are the mods.
And the first cost us 100 tickets, then the second 250. Looking back, I probably could have saved myself a few hours there and just forged Roach's signature, but I'm going to choose not to think about that, and instead head to the Palace of Westminster, where, well, Kevin's gone, replaced with some much less Irish clone guards. They tell me I can't just walk through the main entrance, but instead need to take the discreet entrance, which is a ringing telephone box just down the road. I'm not entirely sure how that's discreet, but okay. Down we go, into an interesting little sequence that has a potentially copyrighted rendition of In the Hall of the Mountain King playing, as we traverse some weird underground facility. As the music begins to swell, we see more telephone boxes ahead of us on the track being detonated. Something that you'd really think the staff would have learned to avoid standing next to by now. But thankfully, we aren't blown up, and instead pass on through to, well, to prison for some reason. An angel trooper speaks to us in our cell, telling us that he wants Smythe dead and tells us that he can help make it happen if we escape. I don't actually think I do want Smythe dead. I think I'm supposed to want that, but I want him to be my granddad and induct me into the ranks of the elite. He gives me the keys to a science museum where I can apparently find somebody aligned to this cause, and then he just runs off, leaving me to my devices. So, Wayne sits on the toilet for a moment, considering his situation. Predictably, this being a Bethesda game, I find a single bobby pin under the bed, but the door is a master level lock, so this doesn't seem likely. Yeah, no. Okay, I'm going to have a sleep then. In the morning, I find myself 2 more bobby pins in the toilet cistern, and channeling the spirit of the lockpicking lawyer himself, 2 is binding. Little click out of 3. We're in. Or rather, we're out. Wayne pulls on some random wires in the power box on the wall here, but he's not particularly sneaky and the guards are onto him like flies on shit. He sprints around evading the guards until he finds his stuff in a box and gives them what for with Loki the plasma pistol. We still have extremely limited ammo though, so I can't really thoroughly clear this place out. We've kind of just got to run through the place doing the minimum amount of murdering possible before emerging out into Scotland Yard, the police headquarters of London. Kira obviously missed us because she's going straight into the heavy stuff.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Alright, okay, that's nice, Kira. She wants to go and finally locate that missing gold or something, but I'm gonna be real with you, I'm not doing that. I've got a single track mind right now, purely focused on getting to Smythe and asking if he'll be my peepaw. Okay, maybe it's double track, because first I need to visit old Ahab for more ammo. Now we head to the Science Museum, where that allegedly rebellious angel soldier told us to go earlier. It's guarded by a load of protectrons, so I send in the mighty Kira.
No.
Oh, yeah, okay, we really need to find her some armor. So we're actually doing this ourselves. But protectrons aren't that bad. You just have to shoot off their arms and they self-destruct. The inside is also full of protectrons, a chance for Kira to redeem herself. Good work, Kira, that saved me at least 10 shotgun shells. A good few protectrons later, Wayne finds his way into the Angel Lab hidden away at the top of the Science Museum, with its accompanying clone soldiers, and their accompanying armor. Kira, dress up as one of them, they'll never expect that. Quick snack later, we meet the resident scientist, Mr. X, who tells us a lot of things, but most importantly, that an opportunity to assassinate Smythe has presented itself. He'll be attending a tournament in Westminster, because those are a thing apparently, so we're going to blow up his viewing box. Just to reiterate, I don't want to kill Smythe, but this is the quest I have, so I'm going along, okay? I'll admit I do like explosions. So to the tournament ground we go, passing this weird Guy Fawkes protectron along the way, and to the greeter at the gate, who says we just can't get a ticket now. Luckily, they'll let us in if we do something for them. Wayne loves doing things for people. That's why he's been doing it for the past 20 hours or so. Apparently Guido back there is a propaganda bot for the Fifth Column, the local communist faction, and he's annoying people, so we have to go and convince him to leave. They specify we can't just kill him, unfortunately, and it turns out Guido isn't cheaply bribed either. He's got a lot to say, mainly about communism being good. Eventually Wayne just agrees with him, and that's actually all he needed to hear. His quota for conversion was 1, it turns out, and now he's done, he's off. So the greeter lets us in, which he'll definitely regret very soon. First, we need to locate the stashed explosives. Now, if I were a container of dangerous contraband, where would I be hiding? Maybe in this tent where people go to behave extremely strangely? Nah, it's just in a random locker, so now let's go plant a bomb. Once we do, that angel trooper from the prison jump scares me. I thought it was Kira, obviously. Wayne sits down to enjoy the show, and boom. Just like that, he's a successful domestic terrorist. Or is he? No. Well, yes, he is in that he killed a load of civilians, but not his target. Because of course Smythe wasn't there, and now he's addressing the city about the attack, using the emergency to expand his powers. Shock horror, we've been used! He ends the statement by directing any questions or queries to the office of the head of the civil service. So after looting the casualties of the attack, that's where we're headed. Everybody in here is wearing a bowler hat, including the receptionist, and in fact that turns out to be a policy. They won't let me in without one. Right, okay then. Simple problems have simple solutions. There we go. They don't need that anymore. Okay, but seriously, this presumably being a common problem, someone has set up a hat shop nearby. However, me being a bad boy rule breaker, I don't want to pay just to fit into the machine, man. So I stole one instead. All bowlered up, the receptionist lets us through, and in Smythe's office, unsurprisingly, we find a phone. Clearly I approached from the wrong side of the desk because the perspective for this conversation is all messed up. But that's fine. He thanks us kindly for our services to him so far, intentionally rendered or otherwise, to which Wayne responds that he's glad to be of service. Because that's our goal after all, to cozy up with Smythe and the shadowy cabal in control of everything. He tells us that there's a card on his desk with an address, so that's where we'll be going. First though, we've hit level 22, and it's time for another agility level to keep unlocking later perks like quick hands. The place that we're headed to is another Angel lab in Southwark. We're immediately confronted by ghouls inside, and then told off for murdering them, which is unusual. It turns out Agent 47 here is using ghouls as test subjects in his project to reverse the feralization process. I can see how that would be handy, but it doesn't seem to be going very well. He sends us down into the lower levels of the lab to get DNA samples from a few of his former colleagues, and it's extremely radioactive down here, so we have to wear a hazmat suit. And this also means, of course, that the ghouls are all very quickly regenerating health, which is slightly annoying, but nonetheless we collect some DNA and head back up after only incinerating ourselves once. I just didn't expect that to be instant death and wanted to look at the fire effect up close, okay? Anyway, it turns out we didn't need to head back up because everybody's down here in some kind of test chamber now. He's using us as a test dummy, basically, to go and interact with the feral ghouls as they're given an experimental serum. Unsurprisingly, it doesn't work very well. Except for the third one, which we got to grunt at before it went berserk. And the fourth, which seemed even more promising, until it didn't anymore. Nonetheless, 47 is pleased with these results and tells us that Smythe will be in touch. Before heading out, we've leveled up again, so I'll grab quick hands for some speedy reloads. As soon as we're topside, a courier arrives from Smythe with our next mission. So we'll slip him 10 tickets to give us some undelivered parcels, so that Wayne can film one of those opening undelivered mail videos for his PipTube channel. Anyway, whatever, the letter tells us to head to London Aquarium, specifically the Angel lab that's attached to it, where apparently someone or something has been broadcasting. Okie doke, Smythe, can do. To the aquarium we go. There's bound to be something in here, and actually, owing to the immediate Mittenlurk attack, I'm thinking it's gonna be a queen, isn't it? Well, there's only one way to find out, and it involved shooting through a great many lurks, until we find another hand scanner to get into the secret lab portion of the place. Inside, we find a blessedly high number of filing cabinets, overflowing with ammo. But, also, these things. Big, nasty, bloated ghouls. Ugh. They're much tankier than regular ghouls, but still, a shotgun is a shotgun. Don't worry though, there's something much more interesting than ghouls down here. It's Reggie. He's a crab man. I knew there was something weird about him. Reggie has been stuck here with no one but a Protectron for company for a very, very long time. That's probably why he's so deranged. But that's also why he figured out how to send a signal from his containment. Unsurprisingly, he wants to be released, and I think it would be cool to let him roam free. But unfortunately the boss is on the phone and after learning about Reggie's existence, well, he has other ideas.
Euthanize it.
Sorry, Reggie. Come here, give me a quick kiss before I put you down for good.
Do you have any idea how much Reggie X Hazor Yowie you've just spoke into existence?
We're given a timer to quickly flee the aquarium, and when we get to the surface, a telephone box is ringing. Safe to assume Smythe's on the phone, but before we pick it up, we get one of those, "Hey, this is the end, tie up loose threads" warnings. I'm good, let's go.
Excellent work.
His next job for us is simple. Assassinate the leaders of both the Fifth Column and Camelot. He does specify that we're not allowed to storm in like a thug, which is a shame, but okay, fine. He gives us a couple of contacts to speak to in order to ensure things go smoothly. And by the way, extremely frustratingly, I had the gameplay audio channel muted for this entire 8-hour-long recording session, so if there's any important dialogue or sound effects, I'll just have to fix it in post. Anyway, it's fine, I think we're on the home straight now. We'll deal with Eve Varney, the leader of the Fifth Column, first, which involves getting into a very special private section of their pub here, the St. George. Now obviously I'm not about to go and join the Fifth Column just to get in there, but the bartender isn't just going to let me in either. However, Wayne is a sneaky little devil, and after, well, actually quite a lot of manoeuvring, he manages to get into the bartender's pockets and swipe the keys. Back here in the private lounge we speak to Horatio, a Fifth columnist under the employ of Smythe. I'm not sure why he couldn't just, meet us outside rather than making us break into here, but anyway, he knows how we can deal with Eve. He says her chief advisor, Victor, a pathetic weasel of a man, can be bent to our cause, because apparently there's a mass grave north of here containing Victor's successor and anybody else who's challenged Eve in the past. Alright then, let's go poke around in a mass grave. The journey there is, completely uneventful. Yeah, just a normal walk. No getting blown to pieces or finding a strange clone picnic. Hey look, a mass grave, in which we find Oliver Hume, who has a letter in his front pocket conveniently proving we found him. Oh shit, a giant womble! This would be more menacing if it weren't just stuck down there while we stand on this ramp and slowly kill it. Anyway, back at the Fifth Column's headquarters, we explain our way into Victor's bedroom and show him the letter we found, which he's not thrilled about. And as a result, he tells us where we can find Eve relatively unguarded so we can off her without everybody knowing that we did it. Over on the waterfront a short ways down the road, she's having a meeting that's not actually all that unguarded. She's got quite a few elite guards around her. So it might have taken 2 attempts, but the second time around, Wayne manages to burn his way through her guards with this interesting flamer zap gun thing we found a little while back, and then take her out shotgun-styly. Very good. 1 leader down already. And we even got Eve's little 50 cal pistol and a level up from it, taking Scrounger 3 to maybe, just maybe finally sort out a horrible ammo situation for good. Now then, we're off to kill Arthur of Camelot. And I think this is going to be quite a bit more involved. Our contact for this one is over in Westminster. Dr. James North, all the way down here apparently, next to the Sarnie shop. He's up here in the hallway giving a talk about doing science on people to a load of rich investors trying to gather their funding, I suppose. And while he does that, Wayne breaks into his room and pilfers any loose ammo. Once he's finally done talking, we get his attention and he tells us to meet him in his lab, accessible via Hyde Park Corner tube station. He warns us that the trains won't stop for us, so we've got to just run down the tunnels and hope we don't die. So 1 inconvenient run down the tracks later, we find ourselves at a lift heading into North's lab. It turns out he's the brain in charge of the cloning stuff, and wants us to get a DNA sample from Guinevere, one of Arthur's lot, obviously. Apparently she's already following North around for some reason, so he tells us that we should be able to deal with her at an event that he's hosting soon. So, alright. Wayne's off to a party to kill a woman and take her DNA. Simple. There is also a side objective to find 5 of these surveillance devices that she's planting around the house, but we don't need to talk about that. It's boring stuff. Because here's Gwyn. I failed the speech test to get her outside, of course, but, well, she still goes outside, so I suppose that didn't matter. There is this one random dude out here, but I guess he won't mind if we just murder this girl with an SA-58 real quick. And with the evidence, hidden, kind of, we'll go back to James. He'll use that DNA to make a clone of Guinevere, of course, And while he calibrates her, I think we all know what he's really doing, we get Smythe on the phone. They talk back and forth a little, both being petty assholes to each other as is tradition, and this has me assuming that I'm about to watch this guy get killed by his own creation. Yeah, that's what happens. So Wayne has a snack and puts the good doctor to one side whilst Smythe explains what's next, which is apparently going to Camelot to meet the Gwyn clone and kill Arthur. It's a good ways south, and as we get closer it starts to look a bit like Lincolnshire. Just 3-meter tall oilseed as far as the eye can see. But when we eventually emerge from the oilseed rape, yes, that's what it's called, not what it was doing to me, we find Gwyn waiting for us. Together we head into Camelot through the... Gwyn? Gwyn? Maybe a gas grenade will wake her up. And surprisingly, after a short rest, it did get her going again. So we follow her through Camelot and up into Arthur's bedroom, where he keeps his sick armor. But sadly, you can't steal it here, otherwise I obviously would have. She has a brief and not particularly convincing chat with Arthur, and then together we murder him. And then Gwyn Clone got confused and also had to be put down. Whatever. It's no big deal, really. Job done. Now we've got to head back to the clone lab to speak with Smythe again. I'm not really sure why we need to go there to do that, but whatever. He's probably going to have me killed or something. The absolute mad lad. Entirely unsurprisingly though, Smythe has another job for us, that he needs us to go to his office to tell us about, for some reason. I think he just likes to make us run around. In his office he continues his anti-plebeian spiel and tells us that the plan is to bring them all into line, but first he needs a royal appointment. That is, to be appointed royally, not... whatever, you know what I mean. Or do you? I don't think I even know what I mean. But in order to work that out, there are 4 barons that need dealing with. But in this case, that doesn't mean murdering them all. They just need bringing into line. We're given 4 dossiers with information on the barons and their potential weak points to exploit. And to be honest, it's lucky that most of them are apparently just coercible, because that's kind of all Wayne can do. The first of them, Baroness Brenda, lives in Buckingham Palace itself. And I have a tape of blackmail material, but Wayne just isn't charismatic enough to make this work, so we just shot her in the face a few times until she agreed to give us the royal appointment. It's yeah, that's just how we do things here. Next though, we have to go and get it sealed, by this big dude named Earl, who's currently playing tennis with someone he's obviously got the hots for, and for some reason Wayne rizzes him up for a while. Which went surprisingly well, but as we've discussed already many times, his charisma only goes so far, and before too long it's back to shotgun diplomacy, as always. To his credit, Earl takes it to the face like a champ and agrees to seal the appointment for us. Step 3 is more complex. I have to assassinate this Cecily character at a theatre to intimidate Nigel Honeysett so that he won't get in the way of proceedings. I mean, it's not actually that complex, we just walk in, the lights turn off, thanks to Smythe I assume, and then we shoot her twice in the side of the head. And then we leave. Easy peasy. Her funeral will be tomorrow, so we'll just chill here on a bench outside where we just killed her for a full 24 hours, before showing up at the church to go and tell this Nigel dude what I did, and that he'll be next if he gets in Smythe's way.
May God have mercy on us all.
Now the final part of the plan is to hand Smythe's signed and sealed royal appointment to the PM. Should be easy enough, but of course, it's not, because apparently it's election season, meaning no one's in Downing Street right now. So in a slightly frustrating last-minute side quest, we have to help speed along election season by putting up party posters. And I mean, that's not really how it works, but fine. Wayne has to choose a political party to campaign for, and chooses the Tories, of course. Just kind of seemed like his deal. I'll spare you the details. He runs around putting posters on walls, buses, what have you, fending off hooligans every time he does that. And in the middle of it all, Kira saw me eating even more people and now decides that she really likes me. She likes me the maximum amount, in fact, meaning that we get the Tube Raider perk. It's a good perk, actually, mainly for its extra 50 carry weight. But anyway, together Wayne and Kira blasted some more Cavaliers, and then Wayne heads back to hear the election results. Surprise, surprise, the Tories win. Ra will be thrilled. That means that now we can go meet the PM back in Downing Street. He's a pretty accurate representation of a Tory PM, just there to fill a seat and collect a paycheck for him and his mates. Thankfully, that means he's got no issues with approving this appointment. Job done. Very good. Now back to Smythe's office, where, predictably, he isn't. I guess that makes sense, he's busy being royally appointed, whatever that actually means. So we simply have to wait to be contacted, which, of course, as always, happens instantly. We're invited to sort of attend Smythe's appointment ceremony, where he, via loudspeaker, announces extremely harsh measures to control the population of London, including dissolving Parliament immediately. Good stuff. So once again, we're back to Smythe's office for a chat. He asks us if we're ready to wrap up the situation. Smythe, you have no idea how ready I am. Please do go ahead. Apparently this starts with replacing the current general of the Tommies to bring them into line, because the current guy is loyal only to the Queen. And as is often the case, I'm not allowed to just run in and kill him. No, instead we have to go back to the palace to get the Queen's backing for booting out General Asquith. The General mentioned that the Queen is absent, which I assumed meant dead, but back in Buckingham Palace we learn that she's actually perfectly alive, just, well, she's gone feral. Of course, that's why the good Dr. Agent 47 is here, and why we helped him to perfect his deferalizing serum earlier. But before we can apply the serum, we need to beat the Queen to within an inch of death. Here she is, Queen Vicky II. She's quite tanky, but I've gotten used to that by now. And also good old Brenda popped over from the next room to help out with her laser pistol. Thanks, Brenda. A few good blasts to the face and she's ready for the serum, which thankfully also revivifies her clothes. Everybody's thrilled to have Vicky back, and yeah, that's great, but guys, please just sign this thing for me. Very good. Back to the War Museum to deliver the good news, which he doesn't take well. And actually, quite surprisingly, he challenges us to a pistol duel out front. Okay. Easy, mate. Back inside, General George Major is busy speeching, mainly talking about stamping out the chaos that currently exists in London. And now, just as usual, we await further contact. And just as usual, contact is immediate. He's on the phone in the General's office. Smythe has yet another mission for us. We're to orchestrate a false flag attack to make the people scared and therefore easier to control. Who are we going to make the enemy of the people? Well, Angel, of course. And how are we going to do it? We're going to burn down a settlement, of course. And where are we going to do it? Pekham, of course. Wayne heads to an inn in Pekham where his gear has been delivered. His gear, in this case, is a flamethrower and an angel flag. So, okay, simple enough. I actually rather enjoyed this mission, it's very cathartic. We burn down the settlement, hoist the angel flag, and then quickly put down the hooligans that were apparently attracted by the fire and screaming, and it's also attracted some Tommies who Wayne now has to lie to. But well, you know, Wayne's not very good at that, so it's the usual backup plan pretty quickly. So back to Smythe's office, where we stand in the right place for a change and can see his image on the screen as he tells us our next job, which is to spread the news of this attack on telly. We have to fight our way through to Broadcasting House, as it's surrounded by Roundheads. They're also inside, but none of this is a particularly big deal because Wayne is starting to get into his stride when it comes to killing, and is really getting work done with this Angel SMG. Still, I don't have enough ammo, but, you know, some things never change. Like war, for example. With the building cleared out, we can head to the studio upstairs, where, unsurprisingly, we find some more side quests. This has gone on for a very long time already, and at this point the script is approaching master's thesis length. I don't have a master's, and I don't want one in Fallout London, so let's keep this quick. Firstly, one of the actors we planned to use has gone AWOL. He's called Dickie and he's fed up and planning to leave London because he can't get enough work and his landlord is kicking him out. Okay, Wayne can solve that problem. Hi, landlord. Meet bullets. There you go, Dickie. Problem solved. Now get your fine ass to the studio, where we find another prima donna film school type who doesn't like being coerced to perform. Well, you'd better learn to like it, because I'm about to gun down your manservant, so you'll perform. Good? Good. Now, would you believe it, there's one more obstacle in our way. The Roundheads broke some stuff up here. A broadcasting chip, to be specific, so we have to go out and get another. Apparently there's one in this building that also contains about 45 quadrillion fifth colonists. Fighting through this building with very limited ammo and an extremely disadvantaged position with about 15 of them able to simultaneously shoot at poor Wayne. But look, we eventually get the thing we came here for. Alright, good. Back to the studio. I've kind of always wanted to say that, to be honest. But seriously, back in the studio we hit the button and watch the broadcast of our hot and fresh propaganda piece. This is where I'm the most sad about losing the gameplay audio, because this guy with the blurred face pretending to be the leader of Angel put on a horrible French accent to tell the people of London how they're going to die. Ha ha ha, oui oui, baguette, etc. You get the picture, you know the type. Okay, once we're back in Smythe's office, surprise surprise, he's got more work for us. It never ends! The 5th Column and Camelot have joined forces to march on Westminster, with Camelot setting up a trebuchet and the 5th setting up in the underground tunnels. We have to choose which one of these problems to deal with, and then the other will become worse, or something to that basic effect. Smythe says we have 7 days to prepare, after which there'll be no going back, and the battle will begin. So we'll pay Stanley the gun merchant of Trafalgar Square a quick visit for some ammo purchasing, and then we'll find a chair. This one without a back should do. And here we will wait for 7 whole days. The Battle of Westminster is underway. Let's go and deal with that trebuchet. It's guarded by a load of people with bows and melee weapons, which, well, you know, I have a plasma pistol, so obviously that didn't go well for them. Wayne kicks over a burning sconce and runs away, off into the tunnels to face the apparently now stronger 5th Column. There's a lot of them. Really, a lot. But on the bright side, they have guns, so I can at least scavenge bullets from one enemy to use on the next. Wayne is gunning his way through them with whatever he's currently got more than 20 ammo for, and does so for about 20 full minutes. On the bright side, we do have Angel Troopers helping us out at some times. Yeah, helping. Helping by trapping me in the 5th Column's Molotov spam. But anyway, out we eventually go to Westminster, where the battle rages on. Massive groups of Camelot and 5th Column fodder need taking out. Mostly they're the extremely weak varieties and go down pretty easily. So after some more time spent aimlessly killing, an exasperated courier shows up. He clearly doesn't want to be here, and in fact he's only here because Smythe had a bomb vest put on him so he'd deliver his message to us.
They strapped a fucking bomb to my chest.
3 important positions have been overrun and it's our job to clear them of the enemy.
I'm getting the fuck out of here.
And then predictably the courier explodes. Yeah, that's how Smythe operates. I wouldn't be surprised if the game ends with our chest detonating, to be frank. But anyway, the first objective is Downing Street, which Wayne takes a fiery approach to clearing. Flamethrower beats bow every time. Next, Admiralty Arch, and we've actually got a surprising amount of support here from the Tommies and Angel, so I let them do as much of the work as they can to save some of my own ammo. Since we've been rushing through some stuff here, by the way, I haven't been mentioning every level up. We're 29 now, and I've been taking rifleman perks to boost shotgun damage, because that's apparently a thing. Anyway, Admiralty Arch is taken, and we close the gate to prevent further reinforcements. Now our final objective is to head back to Broadcasting House and take it back. And I mean, I'd love to describe this stuff in more detail or something, but it's just more of the same. I shoot them until there aren't any of them left, and then I take a little lift up to their flag, replacing it with our own. The battle is won, and Big Ben tolls in triumph. We're teleported back to the Palace of Westminster and head on through the halls of power to, well, to this absolutely horrible sight. That's a lot of Waynes. Or, well, a lot of Smythes, I suppose. We're here to be judged by the opposition leader Smythe, and Wayne is declared a superior Smythe and allowed to proceed to the creator. This is really weird. They're singing. I don't like it. Why are they singing? Make them stop. Jolly good fellow, Smythe's a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us. We're made to deposit our weapons into a safe container before being let up into Big Ben itself, where a few levels up we find the man, the myth, the legend, Progenitor Smythe.
I am.
He tells us that our job is done, and that it's time to build the world in our image. A world for Smythe, by Smythe. Yeah, we already knew all of this, but we're very bad people. The plan is basically to treat the plebs as an experiment, dehumanize them and make them numb, for their own good. Smythe also explains his backstory to us. He's been here since before the war and worked in government, where they imprisoned him for his activities, by which it's safe to assume he means horrific human experimentation, and apparently from there he spent his time warning them to no avail of the coming war, only to be ignored. The world ended on October the 23rd, which is the day before my birthday, incidentally. As good a day as any for a nuclear apocalypse, I suppose. So, that's that. For us, the work is done. We're given a presumably hefty retirement in a briefcase. Well, it's either a hefty retirement or a timed explosive, it really could be either, knowing Smythe. But whichever it is, we'll never know. The game fades out and we're treated to an outro, which I'll let play out fully here in a moment, but it's a few minutes long, so first I wanted to thank you for watching this absurdly long video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, for the love of all that's holy, please give it a like and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. But most importantly, please remain indoors. Wayne, or should I say Smythe, is still out there. Now, here's that outro. Until next time, goodbye.
Far surpassing the expectations of their creator, the Wayfarer had ultimately swayed the course of history. Smythe's clones, with the aid of the Tommies, successfully drove the aggressors out of Westminster. The retreating forces, of which there were few, were silently disposed of. A feeling of calm swept the city, all uncertainty fading into the background. Very few Londoners truly knew what was in store for the future, and very few ever would. The Wayfarer went on to accept a new, lucrative deal with their creator. Everything they could ever want in return for their silence and their submission. Smythe would occasionally call them out of retirement to protect their interests in the region, but save for these infrequent disturbances, they were set for life. The Tommies, under the direction of Smythe, became an asset of the Angel Troopers, a friendly face to soften the blow of total subjugation. For the time being, Miller's men were left alone. They were deemed too much of a hassle to deal with, and Islington was blockaded. While they would occasionally sneak out and attack neighbouring boroughs, their rage, for the most part, turned inwards. With no outlet for their fury, this spawned a culture of infighting. Gangs of Miller's men would beat each other to the death over trivial matters. Fortunes were lost and won at a swing of a fist. Only one thing united them: their devotion to their leader, Miller. Traders came and went, but the Croydonians rarely crossed the bridge that had been built for them. They regarded the rest of the world with disinterest, and they were better off for it. Smythe supplemented the Tommy garrison in Brickton with Angel Troopers. The newcomers were cold and efficient in their transformation of the settlement. The Bricktonian dream extinguished, they were quickly brought into the fold of Smythe's plans. The gentry celebrated their perceived victory over the invading forces, believing they had established definitive control over the city. In reality, the process in which their liberties would be stripped away had only begun. According to Smythe's vision, they were to be the tools through which Parliament controlled the proletariat. The Thames folk decided they'd had enough of the disappearances. A movement formed to leave London for good. Those who stayed behind did so forever, looking behind their backs. Kira continued her pursuit of treasures through the capital, always seeking greater and more daring gains. Though riches greased her palms, it was never enough, and true happiness always eluded her. And so, the Wayfarer's journey came to an end. But it was not the end of history, only the beginning, because in mankind's pursuit of power, there is no price too high, no life too valuable, and no ideal too sacred. Because war never changes.